Because I'm absolutely crap at live sales pitches, I've had to do a pre-record, all right? So here goes. Are you looking for top quality tea and coffee? Well, look no further than the Kent and Sussex Tea and Coffee Company. Owned by a fellow West Ham fan, David. Whether you're after a loose leaf tea with health benefits, tea bags, my personal favourite is Pluckley tea, or a wide selection of coffee beans or grounds, they've got you covered. As a bonus, use a discount code Claret15 at checkout and get 15% off your order. Quality brews at a great price. What more could you ask for? That wasn't too bad, was it? Right, on with the show. The Daily Ramble Podcast. Hello, you lovely Hammers fans. It's Nick from Claret and Booze. I hope you're all well. I hope you're feeling much better than what you were last night. Personally, I'm not. I've woke up feeling a bit depressed. I'm not as angry anymore. Sort of the anger subsided. It's just more sort of desperation now, really. The weather's not helping. We had a lovely sunny day yesterday, ruined by West Ham and a 12:30 kickoff. We brought the clouds, and now it looks like we've got a week's worth of horrible, gloomy weather just to sort of compound that depressive feeling. So look, in this show, we're going to touch on very, very briefly, sort of touch on what went wrong on that game yesterday with a dust has settled sort of point of view. Look at the overall situation. Going to give you a bit of insight following a conversation that I've just had with somebody sort of closely connected with the club in relation to Loppy and how much time he's actually got if things don't improve. And I'm just going to close on, David Moyes and all the big David Moyes fans out there at the moment that seem to be rubbing their hands together at every defeat. Are they West Ham fans or are they David Moyes fans? What are they? And I'm just going to give you a quick reminder into what we had to suffer with David Moyes last year as well. I'll close with that. I'll close with it. All right? But like I said, no more rants. I'm all ranted out after yesterday. That was yeah. I was angry. To be honest, I did the watch along. The game itself sucked the life out of me, so I didn't really have much enthusiasm left. But then I was struggling to get the software working for the review. And while I was doing that, I could see that bloke in there, that Scott Sanderson, basically calling everyone in the chat that wanted Moyes out scumbags. Yeah, so it just sent me on a bit of a spiral from that point. Not going to apologise. He is exactly what I called him. So, yeah. Off you pop, mate. Off you pop. Same with anyone else who takes that tact on his channel as well. You want to be abusive? You'll get abuse back. Right. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe because it does really help us. And don't forget, drop a like on the video. So, West Ham versus Chelsea. What went wrong? What went right? Nothing went right. The team selection was on point. Most people were buzzing going into that game, going into kickoff, because we finally got what we wanted on paper, which was a lot of players being put on the pitch, being played in their right positions. But tactically, to call it inept would be an understatement. It would be an understatement. The way he set that team up, he set them up to fail, and his reaction to things in the game were just shocking. Getting Alvarez to sort of drop deep between the back two to form a back three and pairing him up. He's not the quickest, Alvarez ain't the quickest. So to pair him up on the halfway line with someone like Jackson, you're setting him up to fail. You're exploiting his weaknesses. What are you doing? He had a nightmare. And by pulling Alvarez out the middle, that left Rodriguez completely exposed. He was useless. You can't have Rodriguez without Alvarez. I said that on the last show. He needs that pit bull next to him. He hasn't got the mobility for a Premier League midfield, I don't think. Good player, but he's a backup. Tactically, the way we play with this high line, when it's not quite right, that's an understatement. To say it's not quite right, we don't know what we're doing. The players look confused. They look completely confused with what they're supposed to be doing. And Chelsea were just having a field day. I think they adapted their tactics in game. They kind of went into more of a counter-attack. They saw what we was doing. And, yeah, why wouldn't you? There were gaps everywhere. And not at one point in that first half did Lopetegui see what they were doing as a fault on our part. We were leaving massive gaps, particularly on our right-hand side, because Wan-Bissaka was marauding up the pitch. And all the defenders looked terrible yesterday. They did. Mavropanos has been terrible all season. He's been rubbish. Kilman was terrible yesterday. Alvarez looked terrible in defence. This is systemic. This is all down to the system. It really is. It's it's pathetic. The way I tagged it yesterday, I think, was exactly right, and that is high risk, no reward football. It's the worst of both worlds. And I just don't know what his game plan is. I mean, the way that he was making substitutions at the end of the game, it was mind-boggling. He was guessing. There was no plan. There was no plan to anything. The players didn't look briefed. They didn't look like they knew what they was doing. You know, the goals that Chelsea scored were training ground goals. It was so easy for them to pass through us. It was ridiculous. And it was a damning indictment. That was the first time in our history that a manager has lost the first 3 home games of a season. The first time. I don't see where the next one's coming from. I mean, everyone's going to look at the fixture list and go, Ipswich, there's our win. Well, Ipswich have drawn their last 3 games. In with that little fixture list is Brighton. They drew with Brighton as well. There's no guaranteed 3 points here. When we come up against Brentford, what do you think Thomas Frankie's going to do when he sees that high line? He's going to lick his lips. He'll set a low block, let us have the ball in non-dangerous areas, wait until the defensive line marauds up, or just wanders up to the halfway line, nick it back, knock the ball over the top, and they're gone. They're in. Thomas Frank's going to have a field day. And this is Lopetegui's plan. This is what he's been working on. It looked the same in pre-season. It looked shit in pre-season as well. He set the tone then, and it's been the same the whole way through. It's a flawed way to approach football. I would say in any division, but particularly in the Premier League, where you've got so much pace. It's mad. You need to have the right players. You've got to have the right personnel to be playing in that way, you know. Yeah, it's madness. It's not a high line. It's a suicidal line. That's what we're playing. That's what we're playing. It's not just 12 yards further up the pitch. It's far more than that. It's crazy. So, yeah, I'm going to be honest with you now. I have made my mind up on Lopetegui. Look, I hope to have my mind changed. I don't think it's going to happen, but I've made my mind up. I think this is going to go one way. I think the guy's clueless. From what I saw, from what I've seen this season, culminating with that yesterday, that's enough for me. I don't think the geezer knows what the fuck he's doing. If you look at Chelsea, who have got Maresca in, a new manager and a load of new players, you look at him. Look at, he's got them galvanised. They're playing. There's identity there. People know what they're doing. Same with Brighton. They've got a new manager. These guys have never managed in the Premier League before either. No Premier League experience. But they're good managers. They're good coaches. They've got into their team. That team at the moment don't look like they're playing for Lopetegui, and it doesn't look like they ever have been. I think that's why he keeps on relying, and he keeps on going back to the more conventional players who are just grateful to have a starting place. I think that's it. The likes of Thomas Souček and Antonio and players like that. If you turn to them, they're the grateful players, the ones that he sees will put a shift in for him. That's why he kept Cresswell around, and that's why he came on. That's why you've got Irving on the bench, because he's grateful. I don't think he connects quite as well with the stars that we've got. I don't think he does. You can see from their body language. There's been an awful lot of strange reviews as well. Look, everyone knows I've got a man crush on Paqueta, but I thought he played relatively well yesterday. He was our only real outlet in. It was like a 2-man midfield, wasn't it? Because Alvarez was in between the centre backs. So you had Rodriguez and Paqueta. Paqueta was actually trying to do something with the ball, but whenever he had it, you could see Chelsea saw him as a threat. He had 3 players on him at all times. Most of the time, he managed to wiggle out of trouble, and he was slipping balls through. But you have a look at some of the balls that he slipped through for Bowen, just caught on his feet, not making strikers runs. He's not a striker, so you can't dig Bowen out too much. But he was crap yesterday, really poor in that central position. They had no issue at all. He might as well have not been on the pitch. He was awful. So there was no one making runs. Paqueta did slip balls through twice to Kudus. Kudus scored one of them. He was offside. He mistimed his run. He was finding players all the time. He found Somerville a few times, but a couple of his through balls are made to look crap because players are just not seeing what he's doing. You know what Paqueta is going to do. You should be on the shoulder, ready to go when Paqueta picks up that ball in that 10 position. He's slipping that ball through. He's sliding it through. Get on your toes. I think he played well. To bring him off for Irving was an absolute disgrace. To bring Somerville off was ridiculous, and that was met with a load of boos, as there should have been. It was audible. I felt sorry for Antonio. It's not Antonio's fault, but I think everyone knows we weren't booing Antonio there. We was not booing Antonio. We was booing the removal of Somerville. That's what we was doing. And, it was just tragic. That could quite easily have been 6, 7, 8 goals, and we could not have complained. Should have been 3 or 4 in the first half. I mean, Cole Palmer missed that. It was a sitter from about 12 yards on his left foot, centre of the goal. Just screwed it past the post. Felix could have had a brace when he come on. They had so many chances. I'd be here all day rattling through the chances they had. So if it had been 6, 7, 8-0, a record beating, we couldn't have complained. And this was a game at home when we haven't won all season, and we approached it in that way. Now, look, there's a lot of truth in the fact that the players were, as a collective, I'm not going to pick on any individuals, the players as a collective were awful. And I think they were lacking effort. I picked out the second goal. It started with Bowen, high up the pitch. He's just standing there watching as Chelsea are just knocking the ball around him, not even attempting to press. And then they just carried on doing that slow triangle through the midfield where everyone else replicated Bowen, who's supposed to be our captain, leading by example. And same thing, slip the ball through, Jackson's through, one-on-one with the goalkeeper because Alvarez is never going to catch him. He's not as fast as Jackson. It was a mismatch. Baffling. It was a damning indictment on the ability of Lopetegui. It was almost proof. It was almost definitive proof, if anyone needed it, that this guy, I don't think he really has a clue. He is a real good talker. He does a really good interview. We've all met people like that before, right? If you work in the corporate world, we've all met people like that interview really well. They talk a good game, but they haven't got a fucking clue. I think that's this guy. I do. Look at it in real terms, what he did at Wolves. He had a team. He picked up a team that was in trouble. They needed a managerial change. He picked them up, but the talent in that team, that was way too good to go down. They had so many good players. And he low-blocked his way to safety. That's what he did. Low-blocked his way to safety. I could see a low block coming our way, by the way. I think that's what we're going to be in for. I think he's going to have to, because I don't think he's capable of coaching a different style of football. I think it's dangerous. So I think the low block is the style of choice for untalented managers with untalented squads of players, typically. But because it's safe and you rely on the pace of your forwards. But I can see that coming. I think Loppy's going to give up on this project, revert back to a low block and hoofing the ball long to the players on the wing or the centre forwards. That's what we're going to see. Otherwise, he's going to lose every single game. Every single game, I think, moving forwards. But yeah, if you look at it in real terms, what he did at Wolves, he did what he did, then he walked out on them. And there's this myth around Wolves not spending money. He spent over 100 million in 6 months at Wolves. Over 100 million. And he threw his toys out the pram and basically went on an interview with Balaguer, basically saying that his team are not good enough to stay in the Premier League. They're not good enough. He threw his toys out the pram and then he walked not long before the start of the season. And then Gary O'Neill, a relative rookie, walks into that team and has a really good season with him. Made him look stupid. Made him look completely stupid. There's a lot of stories there saying, the board of Wolves didn't sort of stick to their promises and stuff like that. I don't think so. I don't think so. Personally, I'm not a fan. I never was a fan of Lopetegui. I'm definitely not now. Now I've seen him up close and personal. The theatrics of him on the sidelines. You can act like that when you're not being as stupid as what you were in that game yesterday. Those players must be looking at him thinking, how are you setting us up, mate? And you're standing there screaming and shouting. Look at the gaps. Address it. Change it. And he's standing there, red-faced, screaming at them. Fucking kicking bottles and stuff like that. He's a clown. He's an absolute clown. He is a fraud. I'm almost certain of it. Like I said, I hope he proves me wrong. But I can't see it. This is a typical Sullivan signing. If you go through the list of managers that we've had since Sullivan's come in, what do we have? We had Avram Grant. We've had Avram Grant. We've had Sam Allardyce. We've had Bilic. We've had Moyes. We've had Pellegrini. We've had Moyes. And now we've got this geezer. The only one I really enjoyed was Bilic. That was it, And they got rid of him after they stitched him up in that summer window. After we moved to the new stadium, didn't they? Sullivan obviously likes what he considers to be a safe choice. And by a safe choice, that's boring, pragmatic bastards. That's what Sullivan likes. And that was probably the boxes that Lopetegui ticked for him. Over the likes of Amorim, we was trying to get in, and other managers as well. There's other managers out there at the moment that are available on they're not in jobs. There's plenty of them. Xavi, you've got Potter. Is it Terzic, the guy who managed Borussia Dortmund? There's plenty of managers out there. There's a list. Go on Transfer Market. There's a whole raft of them, and we've gone and got this. We've gone and got this guy. I don't understand it. I really don't. So look, for me, I don't see there's any sense in being Lopetegui out vocally at the moment. It's only 5 games in. He could turn it around. We could beat Liverpool, and things could be looking up, and then we could go and beat Brentford, and then we could go and beat Ipswich, and then it's a completely different story. It can all change in a week. But my gut feeling at this stage is that this guy is a fucking fraud, and we haven't upgraded on a crap manager. Moyes was crap, and we haven't upgraded on him. We've gone backwards. How is that even possible? To go backwards on a crap manager? When they said be careful what you wish for, I said it on the video yesterday, no West Ham fan wished for Lopetegui. There was polls being run on what manager do you want, and Lopetegui was on every poll. Before he was appointed, he was at the bottom of every poll. Nobody wanted Lopetegui. There was a petition signed with something like 3,000 or 4,000 signatures before he joined to say no Lopetegui. There was like a little mini celebration when we thought he'd gone to Milan. We thought, oh, fuck me, that's a touch. He's gone to Milan. We didn't want this man. We knew what we was getting. But when he came in, you've got to get on board with it. Of course you have. You've got to support him and hope that your gut instinct or what you think about the man is proved to be wrong. But couldn't be further from the truth at the moment. Now, the worry is, what a lot of people are talking about is, because of what we experienced with David Moyes and the length of time it took for David Moyes to get sacked, because people keep on conveniently forgetting last season. Beating after beating after beating after beating. I mean, Burnley should have beat us off. They played us off the park, should have beat us. You know, we got absolutely embarrassed time after time last year, and you've got people out there at the moment that want that bloke back. Are you off your tits? No. You should want more. You should want an improvement, shouldn't you? Or is it just a case of you wanting to be proven right? You'll never be proven right, by the way, because the guy's shit. He's shit. All right? And if what you want is for David Moyes to come back and for this man to fail for that reason, then I don't even see how that makes you a West Ham fan. You're a Moyes fan. That's what you are. I just want the best manager for the job. I want us playing better football. I want to enjoy my football. It's as simple as that. But yeah, there is a concern that David Moyes was kept here for too long because Sullivan doesn't sack managers, doesn't do this, doesn't do that. David Sullivan doesn't sack managers that he believes in, you know, or managers that have proved themselves. In David Moyes' case, he can look at that and go, right, he saved us from relegation twice, and he got us into Europe and he won us a trophy. There's a lot of trust here. He had a lot in the bank. So I think for a manager like David Moyes, he's gonna get an awful lot more time, 10 times more time than anyone else. But if you look at Bilic, the minute it started wobbling in that second season, he was gone. Same with Pellegrini, he was gone. Lopetegui's got nothing in the bank, nothing. He's proved nothing to Sullivan, nothing whatsoever. He'll probably be livid with this. He will probably be livid with this situation, even though it's his own fucking fault. It's his own fault. He's got to let Tim choose a manager. This was a collective mistake between Sullivan, Brady, and Will Salthouse. But will they blame Will Salthouse? Will they go to Will and say, look what you've done, you've stitched us right up? Of course they won't. Of course they won't. Because it's too lucrative, that relationship. So they'll probably go and get the next Will Salthouse manager, I imagine. But I hope they don't. I hope they can learn by their mistakes the next time and let Tim go out and choose a manager that's going to deliver the style of football that he wants us to play based on the players that we're procuring. So yeah, the long and short is I don't think he's going to get that. And I have had a conversation with someone today, and just so that you know, this is the same person that gave me the information before anyone else that David Moyes was going to go. And that was before the Christmas time. That was around about November. I was saying he's gone. That was when David Moyes had a brilliant first half of the season and everyone was saying he should get a new contract. This guy said, no, he's going. And I fought it the whole way through. Well, this bloke has basically confirmed exactly that. He said this guy has not got any credit whatsoever. And it's only a 2-year contract. If it does look as though he's going to fail and fail miserably, they will act soon. So whether or not, he didn't give me a time frame, but you could be looking. I think if we lose against Liverpool, we go out the cup. If we lose against Brentford, if we lose against Ipswich, at that point there, I think you could be looking at, first of all, the crowd will turn, but I do think that the board will turn as well. if they haven't already. They've already started applying public pressure through their media channels. So yeah, that could be what happens. And to be honest, do you know what? If it's going to happen, I hope it happens soon, because if we hang on and we hang on and we hang on and we end up over midway through a season and we're in a relegation battle, what type of manager do you think that we're going to get then? It's going to be another stick-in plaster job. The guy will, of course, he'll save us from relegation because we've got a team that's too good to go down. They just need a change. And then he'll be rewarded with a 3-year contract because he saved us from relegation. It's the same pattern. It happens every time. So I hope that if it's going to happen, it happens soon so that we can rescue this season. What a season, by the way, to increase ticket prices and to remove concessions. What a way to reward your fans. And I tell you what, if there was ever a season where the fans in the stadium were going to explode in anger, it's going to be this one. They've really made a rod for their own back with this. They've dealt with it completely wrong, arrogantly. So, yeah, that's kind of it. And like I said, I've already spoken about the David Moyes nonsense. But for those of you that are out there that have kind of banging the drum, and look, I've been told that there's people on me on Twitter again. I'm not even on Twitter. Not even on Twitter. Apparently I am though, you know. I'm living in a lot of people's heads. Oh, bless them. Bless them. But yeah, so that is what it is. I'm glad. If you were giving me the credit for getting David Moyes sacked, if you were the person that credits me alone for getting David Moyes sacked, I'll tell you what, I'll wear that as a badge of honour. I really do. I do. It's nonsense, by the way. But if that's what you think, I'll take it. He was crap. And I'm going to play this little video just for you lot as a reminder of how shit he was. See you all later. Come on, you wines.
Well, I'd say that what MD's getting here with me is a very experienced Premier League manager. Arguably, there's only 2 or 3 who've got more experience, games in the Premier League. I think I've probably got the biggest win rate out of a certain amount of managers as well. So I think if you're putting it that way, that's what I do. I win, that's what I do. I win, that's what I do. I win, that's what I do. I win.
Ah, fuck, I've gone and pissed myself. What do I look like covered in this? I look like a fucking loser drenched in piss. I was gonna sing about yourself, but instead I went and pissed myself. At least I've not lost all self-respect until now, because oh fuck, I've gone and shit myself. Well, would you look at this? I'm all covered in piss and shit. Just earlier I was looking swell, but by golly now I smell. And that's too bad, because I was gonna sing about yourself, but instead I shit and piss myself.